Hello everyone, I will be discussing this slide with you. We will be focusing on the 10th physics Newton's law. On the left, it's the first topic on gathering data to analyze everyday motions produced by force such as measurement of distance and time, speed, force, mass, and acceleration. I have decided to do an experiment for this section. It will allow the student to collect data of distance, time, speed, force, mass, and acceleration in real-life situation. Literacy element is having an ability to analyze and understand those vocabulary while discussing the results or data during experiments. Literacy activities is students forming into small groups to help one another to clarify extent ideas. Having to practice physics literacy assessment, formal assessment of the questions based on experiment which they are expected to answer with physics vocabulary. Numeracy element is using measurement to estimate, measure with measuring units, operate clocks, calendar, and timetables. Numeracy activities. Students generate questions strategy in which they have to ask questions during the experiment, such as what is the distance, what is the accelerations, and write them down in the correct form. For these questions, the answers will be found during the experiment. Numeracy assessment is students need to work on some problem solving question in which they are required to do some calculation. Coming to the right, we are focusing on recognizing that stationary object or a moving object with constant motions have balance force acting on it. I have decided presentation for this part, which will have notes, diagram, graphs, charts, video regarding on how to recognize stationary objects with a constant motion and when there is a balance force acting on it. Literacy element, understanding to create meaning out of the presentation and use of vocabulary such as use of such as motion, balance force, and extra. Taking notes during presentation, listening to respond with use of physics concepts. Literacy activities. Students need to create semantic mapping in which they have to write all the literacy terms and add all the related concepts to it. Literacy assessment. Students create cluster in group to display literacy aspect of the whole presentation. Towards the end, students show their their card clusters and physics related literacy which students are expected to finish on presentation. Numeracy element, understanding of analyzing and making meaning of the graph, diagram, and extra. Numeracy activities, students form small groups and some in the group create questions based on the physics numeracy, and while others in the group answer. Numeracy assessment, informal assessment, in form of short quiz, multiple choice, which will they be asked to do some physics numeracy questions. In the quiz, there will be questions which requires them to do some calculation, and multiple choice question will be based on providing diagrams and a graph. Coming to subject specific vocabulary and concept. Vocabulary will be motion, data, analyze, stationary constants, distance, speed, time, force, acceleration, mass, energy, Newton's law, objects, movement, and the concepts will be critical and creative thinking, identifying, exploring, clarifying, organizing information and ideas. The teaching vocabulary is there are three different phases of for teaching vocabulary. The first phase is called the pre-active, which refers to vocabulary attention on how and what the words to teach. The second stage is called the interactive phase and includes strategies such as weekly mapping, presentation in class. The reflecting phase is the last phase. At that stage, students complicate words and define. Numeracy learning continuous is literacy key development concept. Students should be able to recognize and use patterns and the relationships, also using spectral as well as using measurement. Moreover, students should use friction, decimals, percentage ratio, and rate and interpreting statistic information. The literacy part would be um, the literacy learning continuums is literacy key development. A learner should neglect, read, view, listen, evaluate, and respond, as well as interpret and analyze the Newton's law vocabulary. So that's a pretty brief summary of the slide, and there's more details in each of the section. So thank you for listening.